All right, good morning, everyone, and welcome to our virtual morning job club. We're here to provide a space to learn, network, and share with each other to meet our career and life goals. This month, I'll be trying something a bit different. Uh, Budgeting is one of those valuable life skills you can have. If you have a job, or even if you're between jobs, the power of your income is splintered if it is not used properly. Whether you're an old hand at keeping a family housed, clothed, and fed, or a single person planning to move out, this talk will improve your ability to move your income towards your life goals. Oh, right, answer. To get this out of the way, I'm not a formal bookkeeper, accountant, financial advisor, or planner. If you need professional help, please see one of these professions. Today's talk is just a collection of articles, tools, and resources that may be helpful when planning your finances. But if you have any in-depth questions, please see a professional. Now, I want to impress upon you that budgeting is for everyone. It doesn't matter who you are or how much you make. Fun statistic that I pulled from a Forbes article. Nearly a third of lottery winners declare bankruptcy and frequently become estranged from family members and friends, incur a great instance of depression, drug and alcohol abuse, divorce, and suicide than the average American. One reason is that everyone comes to the woodworks when they hear that you've won, and then people start spending like it will never run out, which it inevitably does. Financial planners joke that if you have enemies, give them a lottery ticket. $1 billion will not last you if you do not have the ability to track how you spend it. Now, none of us will probably win the lottery, but we will have money of some varying amount that we must manage to meet our basic needs, the needs of our family, and live what we would call a good life. A budget is how you do that. First off, let's cover what budgeting is not. Budgeting is not hard. All it takes is a bit of simple math, awareness, and willpower. You don't need to fret over every penny spent or even keep all your receipts. You don't have to be It doesn't have to be stressful. It doesn't mean a fixed thing that you must follow or all hell will break loose. In most cases, even on a fixed income. It's not about giving up what you enjoy. Budgeting is achievable and can be as detailed as you need it to be. There are several different ways to build a budget, but the only one that matters is the one that works for you. It should change to meet your goals, and if it doesn't, you're free to revise it or find a different method. It's about prioritizing what you want and need. I don't care if what you want is to travel, start a band, retire 55, or become a Twitch streamer. Budgeting is just one way of making that happen. I'm not saying these things will require trade-offs in time, attention, and of course, your money, but you'll be in a far better position to reach what you want if you clearly know what you need and what it will cost. You cannot get to where you're going if you do not know where you are. These guidelines will cover whatever method you choose in most cases. First off, when building a budget, identify your income. Know when you get paid, how often you get paid, how you get paid for all sources of income. We have to know exactly how much is coming in before we can decide where it will go. List all your general monthly expenses, anything from housing, food, childcare. Also keep a note of any non-monthly or yearly expenses such as insurance, tax assessments, or subscriptions of some kind. Focus on making achievable, realistic goals, whether you want to go back to school, pay off debt, save for retirement, or build something for a vacation fund. The most important thing is to keep the lights on. But it'll be much more rewarding to follow the budget if you have something to shoot for. Second, measure your progress. This can mean saving all your receipts if you want, or just keeping a tighter focus on your bank account. Do as much work as you need to do to make sure you are following the budget. One of the best ways to follow a budget is to automate as much as possible. Most companies are more than happy to accommodate this with automatic payments and direct deposit. Third, budgeting is not a solo task. Everyone in the household is responsible. If you have a partner, keep them in on this part of the process. If you have kids, explain as much as you can to them, depending on their age. And third, revision. If something exceeds one of these goals, change it. If, say, groceries end up costing $300 a month instead of $200, go over your purchase, trim what needs to be trimmed, or just raise the cap. Most importantly, life changes. You lose a roommate, you get married, you have kids, the car breaks down. The budget has to accommodate life. Now, this is not always possible, but let's say if you plan to eat out twice a month and you end up eating once a week, and there's room for it, that's the most important. If there's room in the budget, then just change it. If you have any questions over what something it may or what does or will cost, Google is your friend. Lots of sites have a calculator to help estimate costs. A basic general tip when working the budget: round down your income, round up on your costs. So you make $4,356.50 a month. It's easy to work with. Just assume you make $4,300. Your utility bills, gas for the car, groceries are all going to vary a bit each month. What you think they are, just round up. It's better to assume that we have less than we do and everything costs more than it seems, because generally things do, and it's better to be a little bit in the green than in the red. One thing that may throw off a monthly budget is infrequent or yearly costs. How much you have in your bank account per month is going to vary from the budget because some costs happen at different times. A simple trick to do that is to convert a yearly cost into a monthly cost. Let's say we have a dog, for example. If the average yearly cost of a small dog is $730, including food, toys, milk costs, and let's escape pet insurance because we really love this dog, we just take that total amount and divide it by 12. The dog can be said to cost $61.50 per month. It's a great thing to do for something like insurance premiums, vehicle registration, or possibly your taxes if you have an okay idea of what it's going to cost you. Now, there are a bunch of different ways to build a personal budget, but the one groundwork I like to work with is the 50-30-20 rule. It's a simple, conservative model that's easy to work with. A lot of budgeting rules work off your gross income, but what that number means is vastly different across the country. If your gross income is, say, $60,000 a year, that's going to vary far. That's going to go a lot farther 10 minutes outside a small town than will in downtown Chicago, from taxes and wage deductions, before even getting into the difference between and the cost of living. Best to just work with what best to actually work with what ends up in the bank account. The basics are divided by your net income by 50% needs. It includes housing, groceries, utility bills, healthcare, and transportation. These are the things you need to remain among the living and not have your life fall apart. 30% wants, eating out, movies, concerts, hobbies, things you enjoy doing and enrich your life. And the last 20% to savings, your emergency fund, debt payments, and retirement. These are not immediately life-threatening, but if they're not paid or maintained, will drastically affect your quality of life down the road. The means today covers needs and savings, but making room for wants is part of a good budget. Remember, you're planning for the life you want to live. These numbers are not fixed. If there's something that's important to you that's outside the budget, you can work on ways to get your costs down or pull from wants. But generally, most people should stay within these ratios. The first section is going to be needs. The section, if you want to be exact, the first 2.5 rows of Maslow's pyramid: physiology and safety needs. To the extent that a budget can address belonging and love, that may not be covered if you have a family to provide for, but self-esteem and self-exploration will be covered by wants. All we care about is food, water, shelter, and the things you need to get them, and for anyone dependent on you. The first thing you should be addressing is cost of living. How much does it cost to eat, travel, and get sick in a certain area? Where you live is key to all our basic costs. Here are some example numbers for living within the Bournemouth area. Rent, for example, it's kind of high. I could go probably like 50 miles south and knock off maybe $100 off the average rent. Your main concerns are going to be housing, commute, food, and healthcare. There are many sites that will give you basic costs of things in your area. These are all estimates, and the real cost of things will not be apparent until you start actually living there or you're already paying bills. The best bet, if you really want to check how things actually cost, is to check where you live or plan to live and grab the specifics. So you want to know how much rent's going to be. Go to a specific listing for like a specific apartment in that area and just note the rent. Speaking of apartments, housing is going to make the majority of your monthly of the majority of your needs category is going to be the most important things to budget for. First, determine how much you can afford. The smart number is not to go over 30% of your gross income, but like I said, I do not like using gross. We could say maybe like around 40%, maybe 45 of net. Now that's not always possible. According to the Pew Research Center, at least 38% of people were deemed rent burden, which has definitely increased over the past years. But 30% of gross is the limit of 30% gross is the idea of, at least according to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. Another thing to mention for renters is that many landlords will not take you unless you make 40 times your monthly, unless you make your income has to be at least 40 times the month, 40 trying to explain it clearly. You have to make at least 40 times as your gross average for income. Once you know what you can afford, research. Stay within your budget, but make sure you find a place that fits your needs. If you have family, that's got certain size requirements. Be willing to shop around and negotiate. You have less room when renting, but if you're buying a home, you have a lot more room to save money. That said, I know a lot of people who have gotten like $150 off rent because they were able to sign a lease at the right time, like during winter through a 3-day blizzard. You may not have the luxury of time, but if you do, put in a couple hours of researching and looking for as many places as you need. Home is a place you should be picky about. Home is a place you should be happy to come to. It pays to be picky. I pulled this chart from CNBC. It gives a general idea of what you should be spending based on your income. 29% of gross if you're conservative, and 41 if you can splurge. If you live in an area where affordable housing is still out of reach, government assistance may be a main option if you meet the income requirements. Now, we know if we know what it costs, if we know what we can afford and what we need. Next question is asked if we want to buy or rent. Like a lot of discussion, this is going to depend on both your finances and what's important to you. I know renters who dream of having their own yard, and homeowners who hate having nobody work in the place. But some general points exist. Buying is advantageous if you're going to stay in the home for at least 5 years, you're selling your career or life, and can put down at least 20% to prevent needing private mortgage insurance, and have enough to pay the closing costs. And if interest rates are low, which they are now. Renting is great if your life's in flux, or you may be moving in the near future. Or maybe you're thinking of taking a job out of state, it's a significant difference away. Or if interest rates are high. Considering the cost, there are some things you need to consider for renting or buying. Renting is usually more expensive in the long term. Housing and buying is generally cheaper, but this will depend on the area. One advantage of buying is with the mortgage is that the monthly cost is fixed based on terms of the mortgage. If your lease is up, your landlord might liable to increase rent, maybe because costs for him are going up, or just because he feels like it. If you have a 30-year fixed mortgage, what you pay towards the principal and interest will be the same as the first payment you make will be the same as the last payment you make at the end of those 30 years. Now, this doesn't cover costs like utilities and taxes, which may rise substantially during that period. But overall, the month-to-month is much more stable. For both, some utilities. Sometimes they are included in rent or in the homeowner association dues. A big one for owning a home is closing. With lease, you sign it and you're in. Buying a home is at least a month-long process with a bunch of different people involved to make sure everything's on level. With all the fees involved, Closing costs be anywhere from 7 to 10% of the home's value. Now, I have included some links if you think of trying to find a new place, both for renting and for buying. There's a bunch out there, but feel free to pick whatever suits you. Now, here is some housing comparison examples and cost. Assume the information shown on the left, you can see the benefit of buying compared to renting financially. You'll be paying you will be paying interest on the loan. You will be paying interest on the loan, but this is still better than the rising cost of rent. Keep in mind, this doesn't account for costs like utilities or anything else related to housing. No matter where or how you live, you will have to pay for utilities, depending on the lease or HOA. Some of these may be covered, but if it's not explicitly stated in discovery, you're paying for electric, gas, water, trash, and maybe the internet. The cost varies by size, your home, and usage, but generally, you can expect to pay at least $300, if not more, within Illinois. Cable is still listed as a utility in most places, but there's really no point of paying for cable now that all the streaming services available. And I know many people who just bum off a friend or family member's account. And now, if you don't have a friend with Netflix, here at the library, you can check out one of our Rokus, which have active subscriptions to Netflix, HBO Now, and Disney Plus. If you just want to burn through something like The Mandalorian in 1 week, don't sign up for a subscription. Just call a friend or grab a Roku. Just want to include because it's one little way to save money. Now, this little sidebar, like a lot of things, the pandemic has had a huge effect on the housing market, but not in the way you may think. Housing is actually booming right now. Real estate agents are booked with people looking to buy. Part of this is low interest rates, but also because while there are a lot of people who are unemployed and hurting, if your job can be different from home, then why not look for a better priced home with a lower cost of living? This means housing prices are going up as buyers are fighting for less and less inventory. It illustrates a very striking economic divide, with part of the economy suffering, but with the other half doing better than ever. I don't see that being good in the long run, but that is the state of things. Now, food may not seem like much compared to housing, but you have a lot of control in this category. If you shop smart and buy in bulk, you might be able to get close to maybe 150 a month, maybe even lower. But if you like to have Whole Foods, eat out, that number is going to be much higher. There is a bit of cost break, the more people you have to feed, but that is going to vary by the household and how well everyone else coordinates. For the majority of the United States, if you want to have a job, you'll have to drive there. Excluding how much a given car costs, that's up to you. There are a lot of related costs to keep it running. Now, those costs add up. I include two calculators that are here to help you work out. They work about the same, but the algorithms are a bit different, so you might get different numbers. The second from Computer Solutions gives a good estimation for all the apparent costs from driving. This includes not just gas, but maintenance and tires. The other one from the University of California does a few interesting things by including all possible costs, which includes insurance and depreciation on the vehicle, which may be hard to estimate, but driving a car drives down its worth, that's worth as an asset, and which will eventually be replaced. Now, I don't want to get too deeply in healthcare, but it's definitely an aid. Maybe you want to cover maybe you have coverage to your employer, maybe not, but you will face significant financial difficulties if you are uninsured. If you are insured, if you wind up in the hospital, the average stay could end up costing you $1,000 or more, and your plan may not cover everything. One of the leading causes of debt in this country is medical debt. Know your options, and you may be eligible for reduced cost coverage through healthcare.gov. I don't know if you've noticed, but children, they cost money. The average child, assuming a middle-class lifestyle, will cost nearly $250,000 to keep happy and healthy. This doesn't cover college, but considering the annual growth of cost of college and that many people cannot physically go to college anymore, a lot of the alternatives like trades are looking better and better. More generally, if you live with multiple people, some things may cost less because you're sharing housing costs, food, and transportation. Now, those last few were a bit downer, but let's move on to something fun. These are things you don't need them, but you want them. Disposable income. It's okay to spend money on things you enjoy, but we have to lay down some rules. Now, budgeting doesn't mean being a miser. Part of the usefulness of a budget is because it gives you the permission to budget for fun. Eating out, going out with people, vacation, various streaming services. Now, this model assumes 30% of your income will go to wants, but that may not be feasible. 20, maybe 25% is probably better, but I encourage you to include something fun, even if it's only 5 or 10%. You're probably going to be miserable, leaning to splurge, and thus going over budget, defeating the purpose of the budget. Whatever it is the minimum whatever is the minimum you want for fun, that not just because it makes you happy and relieve stress, but also because it makes you more productive. Maybe you'll take walks and while drinking $5 coffee. That time you spent walking around could lead to kind of a good business idea. Going out might lead you to meeting professional contact or just good friends, which could help down the line. Better yet, what if you want to develop a hobby by taking classes, which could potentially lead to a new career opportunity? Within your means, have fun. Now, just because you have room in the budget for something, especially the wants budget, doesn't mean you should max that category every time you see something you want. If there's a big purchase like car, phone, computer, TV, or monitor you want to make, wait at least 30 days, or at least 7 in some cases. This gives you time to research your options and find the best deal and not just buy whatever looks pretty at the time. This is best done for purchases that where you can afford to wait. If you smash your phone or your car and you were not also smashing the car, you will need that replaced relatively soon. But if it's something that is still working, give it a month, find the best deal, and really examine it if you need it. Now, all our paycheck can go to needs and wants because you will need and want things in the future. Like emergency money, say you lose your job and you need to scrimp before you find a new one. Maybe dealing with debt and you have to pay off like majority of people. You might want to start saving maybe start investing and put away something for retirement. Most of these things we can expect the expected, which includes the unexpected, and save for it. 20% is suggested value to cover all these areas, but that it might have to be closer to 30 or 35 to meet your goals, especially if you have significant debt. To start any discussion on savings should be how to build an emergency fund. You can do all the planning in the world, but accidents happen, and there are a lot of things outside your control. But we know these things happen, so what we plan for them. The majority of disasters include, but are not limited to, job loss, car repairs, major appliance breakage, and emergency medical bills, or simply any drastic life change that targets your bank account. A good number to shoot for is 3 months of projected monthly costs, and that includes everything in your budget. 6 months if you can swing it. Even if you're living paycheck to paycheck, do everything in your power to have something put away, even if it's just $1,000. That's going to prevent you from using credit cards or high interest loans like a lot of brands have forced you in times of need, but ends up ruining them in the long run. Debt is generally a hindrance, but if used correctly, can improve your well-being or let you have things you would not normally be able to afford. The 3 big ones for most people are going to be car, home, and higher education. When you plan to get a new debt, always ask yourself if it's going to be worth it. Will it lead to me making more income in the future or improve my life? Now, if you have existing debt you're struggling with and you need help with relief or consolidation, I recommend you see the National Foundation for Credit Counseling, or the Financial Counseling Association of America. Now, if you are planning to get into debt, keep this as a guideline. if you're concerned if it's going to be manageable or not. Working on your gross, you should not exceed more than 28% of gross income on housing-related expenses. Some may relate to debt, such as a home loan, and no more than 36% of total debt, and have no more than 30%, 36% of your income go to debt. If let's say we make 60,000 a year, that breaks down to 1,400 a month towards everything dealing with housing, which includes utilities. The remaining 400 could go towards some of the other forms of debt. Now, this may not work for everyone, especially students, but if you room with other people or live at home and pay little to no rent, you may be able to get by with a higher limit for a time, but this is not always sustainable. Once you have an emergency fund met, all your needs are fulfilled, and you've fulfilled some of your wants, and your debt is manageable. The question is what to do with the rest of your money. Some of you may be leering around investing. Maybe you think it's too complicated or scary, and you could make a few bad decisions and lose a lot of money. It's not as big a risk as you might think, and in fact, smart investing is one of the best ways to protect and grow your money. Due to yearly inflation in various areas, your money loses buying power bit by bit. If you just keep it away in a savings account, it'll barely make anything back just from being there. But if you take a conservative number like 6 or 3%, you can easily see comfortable returns in the long run. I'm not going to tell you how or what to invest in. All investments carry risk, and how much you want to risk is up to you. But I will say it never hurts to have multiple diverse ways to invest. If one source doesn't do well, more sources means a more stable average growth. And in general, the market trends upwards. So even if it's low, but 1 year, it will eventually recover and increase. Generally, that's not the case. At least with certain companies, like the market will go up, but a certain area will not always go up. To help find the level that works for you, we have some great resources to help you out. We offer to help you make the right decisions. Morningstar and Value Line are two databases that we offer that provide a bunch of great information on stocks, bonds, ETFs, and other investment opportunities. They also provide comprehensive educational materials to get you up to speed. Here's a simple example to show how far your money can go with a bit of planning and time. Say you start with $5,000. We don't need it right now, and we feel comfortable putting away to grow somewhere. If our goal is to have 10,000 in 5 years, and we have an investment option that gets us 5%, if we pay maybe 50 and $55 per month towards the initial pot on a compound, we will have 10,000 in 5 years. Now, this only holds true if what we invest in continues to hold at 5%. If we do it all in one stock for a given company, they could go out of business. That's always a risk. But if we have a plan that is safe and diverse, this is easily attainable. And here we are at the end of the presentation, at the end of the financial roadmap, retirement. There are several options available to you. I can't tell you which is going to work for you, as they are heavily based on what your employer offers. If your employer doesn't offer one, then IRA is probably going to be your best bet. If you want more in-depth recommendations, we have several resources I can refer you to. And like again, Value Line and the other database do have information on that. Now, if you are thinking about retirement and would like a dedicated course, City Colleges of Chicago is offering a 2-night course in the near future. Financial survival for retirement. If you can't make this one, don't worry. They'll mostly offer one again in the future. And we will also have the instructor, Antonio Lugo, here for a program here in April. We'll have him here for a program in April. Here's a list of mostly free budgeting tools at your disposal. There's a lot of budget spreadsheets in Excel. I happen to use the template I have on screen, but there are a bunch available to you. Google Sheets is another option. For apps, if you want to make sure your bills and expenses line up with your budget, Mint lets you sync your banking information and categorizes all your transactions based on some general categories. And they recently added the ability to make your own. But the free version has kind of annoying ads. If you want to include everyone in the budget, something like Good Budget lets you sync all your information between multiple people. Another good one is You Need a Budget, which is $84 a year, but not a lot of people swear by it. In the library, we have an excellent selection of databases, services, and books to help keep you informed about your finances. I included 3 Linda courses you can take for more information on planning your budget. I especially like the one managing your personal finances. The instructor was I like the instructor. If you want to know if you want to figure out the best deals for consumer goods, Consumer Reports is available. Like I said before, Morningstar and Value Line are all about investing and have a staggering amount of market information. For books, I always like to recommend the 101 series, which includes Personal Finance 101 and Budgeting 101. Much of the information in this presentation came from these books. A lot of good information, and they have a lot of good information, infographics, and the publisher also has several others in the series, including Debt 101 and Retirement 101. Besides what we offer here at the library, I've included a short list of resources that may be useful to you. I'm not going to go over them that much, but they will be here, but they're in the handout. I plan to give this talk again in the future, and anything that useful I come across will include in this section. Now, if you're watching in the future, this section may not be helpful to you. But if you're watching before April, I am pleased to announce we have a bunch of programs for Smart Money Week from April 10th to the 17th. And these will help test all your budgeting know-how and give you some great ideas to save money, save time, money, and move you towards your financial goals. Now, that's everything I had today. Thank you for watching. Enjoy the rest of your day.